Welcome back. In this video, we will have a look at the most common and useful functionalities of Power Query in Microsoft Excel. It's important to remind here that Power Query is a data transformation and data preparation engine. With Power Query, you can get data from sources using a graphical user interface and apply transformations using a Power Query editor. You can import data from any number of sources, clean it, transform it, and reshape it according to your needs. In this way, you can set up a query only once and reuse it later by simply refreshing. So here we are in Microsoft Excel. We have to get data in the Power Query editor and transform that data. So we will simply go to the data tab, then click on get data from file. We can get data from different types of files. So we have an Excel file here in this case. So I will click on from Excel workbook in this case. The file is in the downloads folder. This is the file. I will import it. Once I click on the import button, this will open the Power Query navigation pane. So in the navigation pane, I can access the sheets which are there in my Excel workbook. So there is only one sheet in this case. So I will click on this sheet. Then here the navigator pane gives me a preview of the contents of this sheet. I have the option to directly load this sheet in Microsoft Excel, or I can transform the data. Since in this case I have to transform the data, I will click on the transform data button here. Once I click on the transform data button, this opens the Power Query editor. And on the right of this Power Query editor, you have these applied steps. Power Query automatically applies some of the steps to your data based on the contents of your data. For example, it can sometimes change the data type to a date format if it detects that there is a date data type in a particular column or things like that. So let's begin our Power Query journey by looking at the trim and clean functions. So here in the transform tab, you have this text column group. Under this you have the format button. When you click on the format button, there are these functions. Two commonly used functions are the trim function and the clean function. So before using these functions, let's look at why we should use them. As you can observe here in the full name column, there are these spaces, leading and trailing spaces in some cases, and this makes your data look inconsistent. There may also be some special characters, non-printable characters, which may be there. So to remove leading and trailing spaces in your data, you have to use the trim function. And if there are some non-printable characters, some special characters which you want to clean, in that case you can use the clean function. So again, in the transform tab under the format button, I will click on trim first. This will remove the leading and trailing spaces from the data which I have selected. Then again, I will click on the format button and click on clean. This will remove any non-printable characters which might be there in the data. These are the two commonly used functions in Power Query which you should use if there are some spaces, some special characters in your data. Now there might also be some duplicate values in your data which you want to remove. So to remove duplicate rows from your data, what you will do is you will select the column in which there are duplicate values. Then you will go to the home tab and click on remove rows and click on remove duplicates here. This will remove the duplicate rows from your data. There is a word of caution here. For example, there might be two employees from the same company who have same name, but their address will be different. In that case, you need to select the address column also to be sure that these are indeed the duplicate entries. Moreover, what the default behavior of the remove duplicates function in Power Query is that it is a case sensitive deduplication. As you can notice here, I have removed these duplicate values here, but there are again some names here. As you can observe here, there is a name Davis James, and there is again a same name Davis James. These are both here. The reason these are here is that Power Query considers these to be distinct values, to be different values. So to force Power Query to remove these duplicate values, to ignore the case, what you have to do is you have to add a comparison operator here in the formula bar. You will add the Comparer.OrdinalIgnoreCase here. Comparer.OrdinalIgnoreCase. So this is the comparison operator you have to add. So once I hit enter here, you will notice here that Power Query removes these duplicate values where the letter cases are distinct. names are same, letter cases are distinct, so Power Query removes those duplicate values. Power Query also offers you the option to change the data type in a particular column. For example, when you look at this registration date column, you can notice here that this column displays the time also in addition to the date. If you want Power Query to display just the date, not the time, what you will do is you will change the data type in this column. For that, you need to right click here and click on change type. Here you will select the date. Now you can observe that this column displays just the date. Power Query also offers you the option to add a custom date format. So to add a custom date format, what I will do is I will go to the add column tab, then add a custom column here. I will name it custom date. Then in the custom column formula, I will use the function DateTime.ToText function and open parenthesis here. Then the first argument for this function will be the registration date. Let me insert the registration date here as the first argument, then a comma. Then the second argument for this function will be the custom format in which I want to display my date. It is just the same way as you do it in Microsoft Excel. So I will write D 2 times here, dt for the day, then M 3 times here, then Y 4 times for the year. I want to display the full year, and M 3 times is because of the fact that I want to display the first 3 letters of the month. As you will notice here, I have added M in uppercase here. The reason that I have added this M in uppercase is that the fact that Power Query interprets small case m as minutes. So that is why I am writing this in uppercase here. That is the only difference between a custom date format in Microsoft Excel and custom date format in Power Query. So let me close the parenthesis here and I will click on OK here. You will notice here that Power Query adds a custom column, custom date column. The day as usual, then first 3 letters of the month, then full year separated by this dash. So that is how you add a custom date format in Power Query. Now coming to the next important delimiter in Power Query, it is the split column by a delimiter. For example, you have a full name column here. You want to separate this into the first name and the last name. Since there is a pattern here, the first name is separated by a comma from the last name, you can easily split this column into 2. What you have to do here is you will select this column here, then under the transform tab, under the text column group, there is split button. You will click on it and you have these options here. You can split the column by a delimiter, or there are other options also. For now I will go by delimiter here. Once I click on split by delimiter, this navigation pane appears, split column by delimiter. You will select the delimiter here. I will select a comma here. You can select a custom also. If your delimiter isn't among these options here, you can select a custom delimiter, but since I have this comma delimiter here, I will go with it. Then you have this option split at. You can split at the leftmost delimiter or the rightmost delimiter or at each occurrence of the delimiter. Since in this case I will go with each occurrence of the delimiter because I know that there is only one delimiter. So I will select each occurrence of delimiter. Then I will click on OK. What I notice here is that the full name has been split into 2, full name 1 and full name 2. Now I can rename these columns by double clicking here. Now I will name this column as first name, and this one also I will double click on it and name it as last name. So this is how you can split the column by a delimiter. I can do the same thing with this address column also. If I want to separate the country name from this column, I can split this column because there is this country name at the end of this string and it is separated by a comma. I can easily do that. Power Query also offers us the option to extract certain values into a new column. In the address column, for example, we may want to extract the country name into a new column and leave the address column as it is. We don't want to split it, but we want to extract the country name into a new column. leaving the address column as it is. So let's look at how we will do it. We will simply select the column from which we have to extract the values. Then we will go to the add column tab here. Then under the from text group here, we will click on extract, then text. We have these options, text before delimiter or text after delimiter, and there are other options also. I will select text after delimiter. Since the country name is at the end of this string here and it is separated by a comma, so I will expand this advanced options here. Then I will scan the delimiter from the end of the input. Number of delimiters to skip, I don't want to skip any delimiters. I will leave it as 0. Then my delimiter will be a comma, separate comma and a space. This is my delimiter because after comma there is also a space character. When I click on OK here, you will notice that Power Query extracts the country name into a new column. So this is the country name here, USA, Canada, UK. So these are the countries here. I will name this column as country. Now there is another great functionality in Power Query. It is the column from examples. In column from examples, what you will do is you will give Power Query a couple of examples of how you want to fill up your data in a certain column. Then Power Query will infer the pattern from the examples that you provide, and it will fill the rest of the column for you. It is same as flash fill functionality in Microsoft Excel. Column from examples does the same thing just as flash fill does in Microsoft Excel. So here, to add a column from examples, what you will do is you will go to the add column tab, then click on column from examples. Then you have to give Power Query a couple of examples. For example, if I want to extract the city name from this address column here, I will double click here and I will type Los Angeles here. Then in the second, so Power Query in this case infers a pattern from just a single example. So here Power Query infers the pattern from a single example. There is this names of other cities flashing on the screen and it is grayed out. It is just Power Query inferring the pattern. If I am satisfied that these are the correct values, I will just click Ctrl and Enter on the keyboard and it will fill the rest of the values for me. And if I am not satisfied, then I will give Power Query a couple of more examples and it will fill the rest of the column from me. In this case, I will click on Ctrl and Enter and boom, it is here. All the values are here. I have just entered a single example and Power Query has guessed the rest of the values and it has saved me a lot of time. Whenever you import data into Power Query, there is always a chance that there are some missing values, and the missing values in Power Query are represented by null. For example, let's have a look at the donation column here. In this donation column, you can see that there are some null values here because some of these persons haven't made any donation. So let's go to the view tab and click on column quality to display the profile for each column. Here you can see that for the donation field we have 88% valid values and 12% values or empty values. So to replace these null values, what you will do is you will go to the home tab and under this transform group you have the replace values button. Let's click on it. So we will simply find the null value and we want to replace it with a 0 because the donation column is a numeric column, so we want to replace the null value with a 0. I will click on OK and you will see that we have 0% empty values now. So this is how you replace missing values in Power Query. And there is one more this issue here. For some columns there may be some error values. For example, let's have a look at this country column. There are these error values here. Here is an error value, here is error value. So you also want to remove these error values. What you will do to remove these error values is you will select the column, then right click and remove errors. You have two options here. You can either remove the errors or there is one more option here, replace errors. If you select remove errors, this will remove the entire rows for which there are error values, and you don't want to do that in many cases, because removing an entire row altogether might be risky. So you may go with a safer option, replace errors. So you want to replace the error values with, for example, not available, NA for not available. I will click on OK. Now we will see that this column profile changes immediately. We have 100% valid values now, and 0% error values, and 0% empty values. So this is how you will make your data consistent in Power Query, by replacing missing values and replacing or removing error values. Now let's look at a final example in this video. It will be the conditional column functionality in Power Query. The conditional column functionality is same as using the if function in Microsoft Excel. In this example, we will assign these persons to a category based on the donation amount. We will create 3 or 4 categories. We will create a category of platinum, then gold, silver, bronze. So we will have 4 categories here based on the donation amount. So this is how we will do it. We will go to the add column tab, then click on conditional column, and here we will name this as donor level. This will be the conditional column, and we want to check the donation amount. So let's select donation as the column name here. Then for operator, we will assign it is greater than or equal to. If the donation amount is greater than or equal to 4,000, then the output will be platinum. Then we will add another clause here, else if donation amount is greater than or equal to 3,000, this will be the gold category. Again, we will add another clause, else if donation amount is greater than or equal to 2,000, this will be silver, else it will be bronze. So these are our 4 categories: platinum, gold, silver, and bronze, based on the donation amount. Here I will click on OK here, and here you have these donor levels: platinum, bronze, gold, silver. So this is how you will add a conditional column in Power Query. Once you have made all of these changes, modifications, and adjustments in your data, and your data is ready, then you will go to the Home tab and click on Close and Load, and this will load your data in Microsoft Excel. So these were some of the most commonly used functionalities, some practical examples of Power Query in Microsoft Excel. I hope this video was helpful. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Keep supporting, subscribe the channel. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.